Hey, pleased to have the national baseball writer for Forbes joining us in studio tonight. He is Maury Brown, a Portland resident for quite a long time, and you've had your finger on the pulse of this MLB to Portland movement for quite a while. First, your reaction to Terminal 2 being the site that they've chosen, and then, of course, those outstanding renderings.
Yeah, I think that the big thing about it is that it's exciting that it's in an urban setting. It sits on the water, which I think is something interesting about it, and they did it north of downtown, which I think made it a little bit easier to get into. You know, other ideas that they've had have been in the core downtown. It would have gotten into a lot of probably noise problems, and certainly neighbors that don't want to have a large ballpark around it. So I think that that has a lot of possibilities.
The question that I'm asked more often than not is, how close are we to baseball? So let me ask you, how close is it that we're going to see an opening day Major League Baseball here in the city of Portland? Will it happen? Are you optimistic?
Well, I think the big thing about it is that we kind of have to wait and see. You know, baseball has said that they want to go to 32 teams and do an expansion, but of course, if you look down south to Oakland, or if you look to the East Coast with the Tampa Bay Rays, both those teams have been trying to get ballparks for over 20 years. So those things are still in play. Oakland seems to have made a little bit of movement. They said that they have some ballpark renderings. They don't control the land yet. Tampa Bay is in a more difficult position. So I think that it could go either way. That was something that could happen maybe as early as, you know, I think they targeted 2022. I think that would be optimistic if there was a team that was available for relocation. It might be a little bit longer for expansion.
Is it just coincidence that the city of Oakland released, the group down there in Oakland released their drawings a day before Portland did?
I don't, you know, that's like quite the circumstances, right, when you think about that. But really, I don't know if they had it planned in mind that way and it was going to happen. They had been talking about it for some time. They said that they wanted to have that release before the end of the year. Well, here we are. I know that the Portland group had been talking about it for a while to try and get it done, but this is a complex thing, you know. They're working with the Port of Portland. They have concerns for the city. There are other concerns that are still ongoing around all of that, so I think that they wanted to get their ducks in a row.
So Terminal 2, is that the best location? Do you think there's not a ton of, there's a lot of warehouses and no infrastructure down there? I mean, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to need to be done if that is indeed the choice.
Yeah, it's not a perfect spot by any stretch. You know, there's no public transportation down there. Even egress off of the I-405 bridge and going down into there would have to be some infrastructure changes. But I think overall, I think you were going to bump into that problem anywhere. If you went into a suburban location, maybe you'd have better transportation, but then that gets into other problems. If I'm from Vancouver and I put it into Alton, well, that makes my drive a lot harder. If I go into, let's say, Delta Park, it makes it more difficult for people south.
Okay. I want to ask you about the owner, the possible owner. Is this going to be privately funded? We know that. Is this a series of people, of investors that are going to be part of this, or what do we know so far about the people that are fronting the money on this?
Well, we don't know anything about the people that are fronting the money. I think that's the big thing.
I thought you had the secret.
Yeah, well, we don't have that yet. But I think the big thing about it is that they've said that they do. There's no way that you're going to be able to pull together either $1 billion for the ballpark, potentially $2 billion if you need the ballpark and the expansion fees, right? So this is going to certainly be a group of investors that go along with it. The people that we've seen, I don't think are anywhere near to the number of people that they're going to need. They say that that's not a problem. I don't know about you, but $2 billion sounds like a bit of a problem. Yeah. But they say that that's not going to be a big of a deal.
Okay, let's best guess this thing. Okay, when would be the best or the earliest time that we would see Major League Baseball here in Portland?
I think it's probably practical thing more like 2025. That would be a few more years later, right? This gives them time to go ahead and do the environmental impact study, see what's going on with the A's and with the Rays. Like I said, it could accelerate, but I think that they need a little bit of time to go ahead and look at the site. Remember, this is an agreement in principle. They have to finalize that agreement. They have to look at the site and see if it can even support such a large civic development. Now, we've seen some development already south that's creeping north of the Fremont Bridge, so it can be done. But I mean, this is a big deal. It would, I would think, probably be the largest development outside of maybe the south waterfront, or maybe even bigger than that, if the whole thing comes together.
We're talking just about Terminal 2. Okay, there's an additional terminal which has 43 more acres than Terminal 1. What's the likelihood that that does become part of what the Portland Diamond Project is hoping to acquire?
Well, they didn't announce it today, so that I think says that, you know, that they were going to try and move with what they could do now. Okay. What happens in the future, I think, is probably still open. You know, I think that there's some complications to it. The thing that I've heard over and over was that this would be complicated, and no ballpark of this size is going to be easy, right? But they did say that, you know, that they're looking for options around around there. I think that whether it's Terminal 1 that gets involved with that or something else, I think that they're going to try and do some more around it. I don't know if this is their total grand plan.
Okay, what's the next step? I mean, this isn't one of those we build it, they will come kind of situations, right? I mean, this is going to be something that takes time. What's the next step in this entire process?
Well, first of all, you hit on a very important point, which is they, from what I've heard, is they're not going to build it and then say, come on up, like Tampa Bay did.
Sure.
So that's a big deal. I think that once again, they have to finalize this deal with the port. It's a lease agreement, and they're not purchasing the land. They have to look at, of course, once again, whether they can support it, an environmental impact study, you know, just all of that goes in there, what's going to be involved in terms of infrastructure, all of that stuff. And then you can start to see whether they could go and maybe potentially develop before the ballpark is there. Remember, it's a huge development that's going to have a lot of stuff around it. Could they move on that? There's all the zoning that goes along with it. So it's a bunch of complicated, you know, dry stuff. It's not as exciting as baseball, but those are the things that have to happen to get something like that built.
Well, those pictures today were stunning. And if they look anywhere near that, you know, in, say, 2025, like you say, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think that there'll be some changes to it, but you know, still, you know, it was pretty striking. Very Northwest feel.
Yeah.
I think that it'll see that.
And a nice retractable roof, which might be needed, right?
Yeah, it's really important. You know, the Mariners have told me that they have the roof open roughly 80% of the time, which sounds like, why did you make a $150 million investment in a roof? But it's really important if you have people driving from, say, Olympia or as far south as Eugene. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to get in the car, I don't want to be sitting in a rain delay, or I don't want to have a rain out.
Sure.
And given that it's a small market that we have in Portland, we like to think that we're getting bigger, but we're still a small market. You need that guaranteed walk-up. You need those guaranteed sales. That gives them cost certainty knowing that that roof's there.
I'll bet you look at Safeco Field over the last 2 or 3 years, and I bet they've had that thing open about 98% of the time.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It seems like it as of late. There's more rainouts on the East Coast than there have been West Coast.
And this is what's really important. I mean, I was involved in the baseball effort prior when we tried to bring it here, and we did, of course, a study of the weather. And of course, all the West Coast teams have great weather. We would have some of the best weather in all of baseball during the summer. So, of course, baseball isn't just played in the summer. We have baseball starting at
April and May.
Yeah, and we have April and May, and that's, of course, a wet time around here.
Yeah. He is Maury Brown of Forbes. He is a great follow on Twitter. He's at BizBallMaury. And I encourage you to take it and give him a follow. It's going to be great stuff. He'll keep you updated on everything on Major League Baseball to Portland and the whole Portland Diamond Project. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.